Namo Vishnupadaya Vishmate Samhita Nirvishesha Shriyavadi Vishadarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shriyavadi Asatyadesatarine Samsara Dava Nalalita Loka Janaya Karinya Ganaganatam Samsara Dava Nalalita Loka Janaya Karinya Ganaganatam Prapasya Kalyana Gunam Yasya Vande Guru Vijaranada Hridam Prapasya Kalyana Mahaprabhu Aditanajan Manasudasena Mahaprabhu Viragatrikirtika Shatam Ashutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Sicharanada Vinda Shatam Ashutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Sicharanada Vinda Vigrahara Dhananityanana Singara Tanmandir Majanada Vigrahara Dhananityanana Singara Tanmandir Majanada Vitasya Bhaktam Sariyajatopi Vande Guru Sicharanada Vindam Vitasya Bhaktam Sariyajatopi Vande Guru Chaturvidasi Bhagavad Prasada Sadhana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sanghami Chaturvidasi Bhagavad Prasada Sadhana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sanghami Kritaiva Tritim Bhajatasa Daiva Vande Guru Sicharanada Vinda Kritaiva Tritim Bhajatasa Daiva Vande Guru Sicharanada Vinda Radhika Madhava Yodapada Madhurya Lila Guna Rupanam Radhika Madhava Yodapada Madhurya Lila Guna Rupanam Krishna Sadhanalo Vipasya Vande Guru Sicharanada Krishna Sadhanalo Vipasya Vivallavasya Vande Guru Sicharanarvindam Yakadidaksha Vivallavasya Vande Guru Sicharanarvindam Sadhari Daina Samasta Shastra Uktastata Bhavyatareva Sadi Sadhari Daina Samasta Shastra Uktastata Bhavyatareva Sadi Tu Prabhorya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Sicharanarvindam Into Prabhurya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Sicharanarvindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasada Yasya Prasada Nandati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasada Yasya Prasada Nandati Kutapi Jayam Suvangsas Yayashasvi Sanjam Vande Guru Sri Charanara Vinda. 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 Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Just Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivajaka Acharya Studha Satsi Sivan Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Natagati Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sakala Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Govindaka Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapurna Dham ki jai. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samvita Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories of the assembled. Gaur Premanand. Dhamma. Oh. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Kalada Lada Daine. Sanyakashi Purvakshara. Sanyakashi Purvakshara. Shilatangana Karaye. Lord Singa Bharat Singa. Lord Singa Bharat Singa. Yato Yato Yamita Tora Singa. Yato Yamita Tora Singa. Dear the Singa Hridaya Singa. Singa Hridaya. Sringamadin Sharanam Prabhaje. Sringamadin Sharanam Prabhaje. Sringamadin Sharanam Prabhaje. Sringamadin Sharanam Prabhaje. Apakara Kamala Varena Sringam Kalita Itanyakasito Tanvingam Keshavadrakta Narahari Rupa Jagarisha Hare Jaya Jagarisha Hare Jaya Jagarisha Hare Jamana Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare. Haribo. Hari Haribo. Thank you, Grace. Monsieur Lecomte. À votre service. We got trouble. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Balava Giridhari. Shodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamunatira Panachari. Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari. Just Chodananda Rajajana Rangana. Amunatira Panachari. Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Radha Madhava So, Srimad Bhagavatam translation and purports by Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam 7:1-44. Up a little bit. There we go. Wow. So, tatastau rakshasau jato. So, tatas means then, like then. Thereupon, those two rakshasas were born. Again, the AU is the dual form. In Bande Rupa Sanatana. So then those two rakshasas were born. Keshinyang Vishavaksutau, which is in the womb of Keshini. That's the mother. Which means she had nice hair, Keshini. Vishavaksutau, the sons of Vishrava. So, wow, what a baby shower that must have been. Keshin Yang Visravaksuto Ravana Kumbhakarnascha Sarvaloko Patapano. So upatapanao means giving misery to sarvaloka, to the whole world. So maybe chant it again. Tatastau rakshasau jato.
Tatastau rakshasau jato.
Ishinyam visavaksuto.
Ishinyam visavaksuto.
Ravana kumbhakarnascha.
Ravana kumbhakarnascha.
Sarvaloko patapano.
Sarvaloko patapano. Tasto rakshaso jato.
Tatastau rakshasau jato.
Eshinyam Vishwavasutao. Eshinyam Vishwavasutao. Ravana Kumbhakarnascha. Ravana Kumbhakarnascha. Narvaloko Patapano. Narvaloko Patapano. Tatasto Rakshasau Jatau.
Tatastau rakshasau jato.
Eshinyam Vishravasutau. Eshinyam Vishravasutau. Ravana Kumbhakarnascha. Ravana Kumbhakarnascha. Sarvaloko Patapanau. Sarvaloko Patapanau. Tatasto Rakshaso Jato.
Tatastau rakshasau jato.
Eshinyam Vishravasutau.
Eshinyam visravasutau.
Ravana Kumbhakarnascha. Ravana Kumbhakarnascha. Sarvaloko Patapano. Sarvaloko Patapano.
By the way, go ahead.
No.
You can say Kumbhakarna, which means like he had these big pots, like ears, like they were like these big. So
Tatastau rakshasau jato.
Tatastau Rakshaso Jato.
Keshinyam Vishvavasutau.
Eshinyam Vishravasutau. Ravana Kumbhakarnascha.
Sarvaloko patapano.
Jato.
Tatastau rakshasau jato.
Keshinam Vishvavasutau.
Eshinyam visravasutau. Ravana
Kumbhakarnascha.
Kopata.
Sarvaloko patapano. Yes.
H with the dot at the bottom, when it's in the middle of like a sentence like this, or like in the middle, I hear both you and Chandrasekhar kind of making it like a sound in the back of the throat. Is this accurate?
Very good. Good here. Yeah, because actually, I mean, you may have heard that like you say it, for example, Vishravaha. The problem with pronouncing it that way is that it ruins the meter. The most of the Bhagavatam, most of the verses, with a few exceptions, like in the fifth canto, um, it's a very beautifully metered verse, like the number of syllables and the all that, the rhythm of the verse according to long and short vowels. So if you pronounce it, for example, Visravaha Sutao, it would actually change the meter. So therefore, it seems very likely that that's not how it was originally done. So the ha, that sound is sort of a guttural sound. So that's why I pronounced it that way. Best guess. And then Visava, Shava means hearing, of course, like Shruti. And so Visha, V means like wide. So it's a way of saying that someone was widely heard of, whenever it's famous or had known widely. So Prabhupada's translation, thereafter, the same Jai and Vijay, the two doorkeepers of Lord Vishnu, took birth as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, begotten by Visrava. Just in case you're interested in Sanskrit, Visravaha is in a compound, so it goes back to a stem form. But then in the masculine, it becomes Visrava. I know you were all deeply concerned about that. So, begotten by Visrava in the womb of Keshini, they were extremely troublesome to all the people of the universe. Yeah. So then I'll just read the next one because there's no purport for that verse.
One question.
Yes.
Is Rajasuya actually means to break down or something?
Well, rux, the verb rux means to protect. So like Krishna, Rakshamam, protect me. So why they're called Rakshasas? Good question. I'll look that up. So the next verse is Tatrapi Raghavo Bhutva. So right there, like Tatra, there, api. But it's like yet even there in that situation, becoming Raghava. In other words, becoming a prince in the Raghu dynasty. Yeah, that's of course Lord Rama. Nyahanat, he slew them, he killed them. Chapa muktaye, to be for freedom from the curse. Just so in other words, he was. That's actually Shapa, which is because of Sandhi. Anyway, in this case, it becomes Shapa to Shapa. So actually, Lord Rama was freeing them from a curse. So, and this is very interesting because, again, the whole theme of this chapter is that Krishna doesn't hate anyone, doesn't favor anyone. So even when he's killing demons, he's actually doing them a favor. He's freeing them from a curse. So that's the idea here. So, Nyahana Chapa Muktiye. Muktiye means for mukti, for the purpose, data, remember? Purpose for the purpose of mukti. Rama Viryang Shoshasi Twang, you will hear of the prowess of Rama. Shoshasi is just the future tense, second person, singular. Shoshasi, you will hear Viryam, like of the prowess of Rama. Markandeya Mukat, from the mouth of Markandeya. So this Narada is telling Yudhishthira here that in the future, Markandeya is going to tell you all about, he's going to tell you the Ramayana, basically. He's going to, narrate the Ramayana for you. Markandeya Mukat. Prabhu. This is very interesting because Narada is here the guru, but he calls his disciple Prabhu. This is the vocative form, the direct address Prabhu. So it shows that even between guru and disciple, there was clearly here, there's mutual respect. because they're all pure Vaishnavas. So the next verse, there's no purport. Oh, you need a translation. Narada Muni continued, my dear king, just to relieve Jaya and Vijay of the Brahman's curse, Lord Ramchandra appeared in order to kill Ravana and Kumbhakarna. It will be better for you to hear narrations. Prabhupada has these things. It will be better for you to hear narrations about Lord Ramchandra's activities from Markandeya. So next, Tau, again, those two, Atra, Kshatriyao Jatau. So those two herein, now we saw herein actually means now, like at present, because they're actually taking birth during the time of Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira is actually telling him that some of the people you've got to deal with are these same Jaya and Vijaya. So that's Atra. So Tav Atra Kshatriyao Jatau, two Kshatriyas, Jatau born, Mater Swasrat Majautava, the sons of your mother's sister. So actually it's from Sanskrit. We have the word sister. It's swasa, Sanskrit. And then a word for daughter is duitar. So like I said, there's Sanskrit all over the English language. You just know where to look for it. Not just one or two words. So mater swasrat majo, atmajo, born from oneself, or atmaja. So atmajo, born from herself, from your mother's sister. To your aunt. So they're, in other words, they're cousins. And it's just like if you look at European dynastic history, you know, everyone's related to everyone else because royals always marry with royals. So after a while, everyone's related to everyone else. And that's exactly what it is here too. I mean, a lot of the demons were actually Krishna's cousins because his father, Vasudeva, had like 8 sisters or something. And they all had kids and some of them were asuras. So, Mater Swasrat Majaltava, from your mother's, born from your mother's sister. Aduna Shapa Nirmuktau, now freed from the curse. Aduna means now. Shapa Nirmuktau, freed from the curse. Krishna Chakra Hatang Haso. Their sins. So actually, it's not the sins themselves. These people who had sins, those sins have now been destroyed by the Krishna's chakra weapon. Krishna's chakra hatanga. So tavatra kshatriyau jatau mater swasrat majautava aduna shapa nirmuktau Krishna chakra hatanga. So it's interesting actually. It's kind of different when you get this whole story in the dual case. You get all these dual endings. So Prabhupada's translation, in their third birth, the same Jaya and Vijaya appeared in a family of Kshatriyas as your cousins, the sons of your aunt, because Lord Krishna has struck them with his disc. So now they're dead. All their sinful reactions have been destroyed, and now they are free from the curse. Purport. In their last birth, Jaya and Vijaya did not become demons or rakshasas. Instead, they took birth in a very exalted Kshatriya family related to Krishna's family. They became first cousins of Lord Krishna and were practically on an equal footing with him. By personally killing them with his own disc, Lord Krishna destroyed whatever sinful reactions were left in them because of the curse of the Brahmins. Narada Muni is not technically sinful reactions because they weren't sinful. I mean, they were actually devotees. But anyway, Narada Muni explained to Maharaj Yudhishthira that by entering Krishna's body, Shishupala was one of them. He just went crazy at the Rajasuya sacrifice.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Shishupala re-entered Vaikuntha Loka as the Lord's associate. Everyone had seen this incident. So that's how this whole discussion started. The whole discussion started because Yudhisthira actually saw Shishupala decapitated. And this is like a very formal, Brahminical sacrifice, and everyone's wearing their best clothes. They're doing all these rituals and chanting mantras. And then Shishupala just goes crazy. And so Krishna, ting, the chakra comes. And imagine seeing that. And then Krishna just says to all the priests, sorry about that. You can go on with the ceremony now. But meanwhile, it just, imagine people running in, carrying the body out. And someone, some maintenance person had to actually pick up the head and carry it out. Maybe they put it in a bag or something. But if you really think about it,
Why you were thinking?
well, because that's what it was like to be there. If you were actually there, that's what it was like. Of course, it's a clean cut with the chakra.
But that's not what they're asking about, right? Yudhisthira's asking about in all of this chaos that's happening. But he merged. He's a demon. Like he merged. Why, that's the main concern.
Well, the main concern was actually, does Krishna have friends and enemies? And Yudhisthira is saying he can't. Krishna can't have enemies. Yudhisthira knew very well that Shishupala was a demon. And so Yudhisthira knew why Krishna killed him. So this is a very good example of a devotee, for our sake, asking certain questions. His whole life, Yudhisthira had to deal with this bum, Shishupala, was always causing trouble. So Yudhisthira knew, but he still exists. So the main topic here is, why did, it looks like Krishna's favoring one group, and Yudhisthira knew the truth of it. He knew that we're following Krishna, and Shishupala is a demon acting against Krishna. So Yudhisthira understood all that.
I think we should be saying this. He was focused on that instead of the mess, the head, the blood of that.
Oh yeah, of course. No, but I'm just saying. But he also, no, of course. But I think the other part of it is also why. If you were there at the time, you wouldn't forget it. It's the kind of thing you wouldn't forget. Of course, Yudhisthira is a kshatriya. He's seen a lot of blood in his life. He's a kshatriya, and that's what they do. They're, they have swords and they kill people and arrows. So it's very interesting to really put yourself back in that situation. So you're not just, there's this big distance, like you're reading a book about Mahabharata, and here we are in the 21st century and reading about these nice stories. But imagine you're actually there. Because if you were there, of course, the merging would really strike your attention. But it was a very, it's not every day you just see someone's head cut off in the middle of a religious ceremony. And actually, that's why, even in the Nectar of Devotion, if you look at the book, they talk about this. In other words, it made this huge impression on everyone. And because of the merging also, because they saw Shishupala's soul merging into Krishna's body. So yeah, that was also, the whole thing was just unforgettable. And it's still not forgotten. We're still talking about it. And Rupa Goswami talks about it. And the Acharyas. So it was one of those events, literally unforgettable. But thousands of years later, people are still talking about it. Because it was such a, yes, it was, I'm sure the chakra does things, it's like a surgical cut,
The blood of God.
Yeah, it's like a rusty knife. And so, just seeing, because when Krishna cut someone's head off, what a weapon. It's not like you have to ask, well, was that a mortal blow? Because when you get your head cut off, it's the survival rate is basically zero. So he doesn't have to carry it around like in a holster or something, a chakra holster. He just calls for it, and suddenly it's there, and it's so powerful. So yes, so just seeing Krishna in action like that, because normally you see Krishna on a battlefield, like when Jarasandha attacked, Krishna came out of the city. The battles were always outside the city. That's why the Battle of Kurukshetra was a Kurukshetra, because it was far away from any population centers, which actually shows the culture they had, the ethics, because they're going to have a great war. It has to be far away. I mean, now there are cities there, but not back then. So when they had to have this world war, they made sure they did it where no innocent person would be hurt. And certainly not indoors. Killing someone indoors was special. That was not the normal thing. They didn't usually kill people inside palaces or in sacrificial arenas. And so that was, it's just because if you're on a battlefield, people are going to die. But if you're at a religious ceremony, this big sacrificial arena, it's like you don't expect to see people's heads cut off. And Krishna did it. And it's funny because when Shishupala went crazy and just started blaspheming Krishna, a lot of people wanted to kill him. And Krishna just stopped them and said, no, because Krishna knew, if one of the Pandavas attacked them, it's just going to be a big brawl. It's just, because you'd be fighting, going back and forth and everything. And then maybe some of his friends would get out their weapons, and just the whole sacrificial arena would just turn into this big brawl, just this big free-for-all fight. That's why Krishna said, he stopped there and said, let me handle this. And just, did this surgical procedure.
Especially Krishna was not seen as God, nobody was treating him as God, no?
Actually, if you look at Krishna in the Mahabharata, and this is what even mundane scholars say, almost everyone knew this is not a regular guy. I mean, very few people thought, yeah, he's just like me. Some demons thought that. The only person that thought that I'm better, was, what's his name? Who thought he was Vasudeva? Yeah, Pondrika, who came from East India. Actually, his kingdom is sort of today would be actually northern Bengal. And so he came from the east, and the people from the east were a little crazy. Like Jarasandha was from the east, and then even farther east was Pondrika. So it's a pretty crazy crew. And actually, it's in the Vedas too. It's interesting that there's a famous statement in the Vedas that a pure Brahmin will never go east of a particular river. And so even in the Vedas, East India was sort of, they're weird over there. And it's interesting because then Lord Chaitanya, who came to save the most fallen, he took birth there. So Krishna, again, you really have to be there. One thing is you can just read about it in a book, or you can actually be there and you can see it. And so the whole thing, Shishupala just went crazy. He was so envious because they were deciding, who should, because that's part of the Rajasuya sacrifice. I actually researched this. And so one thing the Rajasuya sacrifice is that the king who's being inaugurated or coronated as the king of kings, in order to show honor to someone else, someone in the assembly is considered to be the best person or the person most deserving of honor. And then the king honors that person. And that's sort of a standard part of the Rajasuya sacrifice. So it came time for that. There's a certain order of events. Like if you see on television when they're crowning a new king or queen in England, there's this whole order of events. It's the same for the Rajasuya. So then, okay, who gets those top honors? In the Mahabharata, the one who nominates Krishna is Bhishma. In the Bhagavatam, Sahadev nominates Krishna. And so, they hadn't even given it to him yet, just because they were nominating Krishna. Shishupala just really got uncorked. He really went crazy. And he started insulting and blaspheming Krishna. Everyone's just going for their gun, the swords in those days. So, and so, so Krishna had to do it because otherwise this huge battle was going to break out right in the middle of a sacred sacrifice. So just to preempt that, Krishna just called for his chakra and, a clean cut.
Now they can glorify him really. Glorification took another level.
And then Shishupala merged into Krishna's body. Because normally the last thing, a warrior wants is for his enemy to merge into his body, right? Because, that's why you killed him and get rid of him. And so that alone shows Krishna's glory, that Krishna is equal to everyone. Everyone is a soul. And Krishna says in the Gita, I'm the well-wishing friend of everyone. So Shishupala, hated Krishna so much that he emerged into Krishna's body. So it's very interesting. You really stop to think about all these things. They're very interesting. So, did I read the translation yet?
I don't know.
Oh, I did? Okay, so any questions? Jai Govinda?
You don't always, when Krishna kills a demon, they don't always merge. Agasura also merged into Krishna's body.
Yeah. The sin demon. Aga means sin.
And then also, Shishupal had to curse Krishna a certain number of times, so Krishna let him do it. And then he got
Well, that's a nice Indian story.
okay.
There are a lot of nice Indian stories.
So is this the only, well, it sounds like there's many, many of these Rajasuyas. How many do we really hear about?
Well,
Is this the only one we hear about and we're reading Rajasuyas regularly?
what's that?
Rajasuya sacrifices regularly.
Oh, no, because it's only performed when someone becomes the emperor. And so to become the emperor, as we see in Yudhishthira's most famous Rajasuya sacrifice, you can't be the emperor if a lot of people are saying, I don't accept you. Because then it's just, what does it mean to be an emperor when you have other kings that just think you're a bum? And so, therefore, now sometimes someone has so much power that it's just no one wants to mess with them. That was kind of the case with Pandu. Pandu was so powerful, everyone was saying, yeah, I have no problem with it. You have no problem. So, because Pandu is post, because when Pandu takes birth, anyway, that's a whole other thing. That's gonna be beginning of volume 3 of the Great Bharata. But so Yudhishthira, and then of course Shantanu became the king of kings. So if everyone just agrees, then it's not necessary to do the Digvijaya, to conquer the directions, literally. So it just depends on the political situation.
I want to kind of play the devil's advocate regarding the, for lack of another word, for the far out stuff that we accept on faith.
We do?
Well, one could say, here's this gentleman, his PhD from Harvard. How in the world does he believe in a chakra and all the stuff that we hear in the Bhagavatam?
Actually, Einstein said something. He said, if someone's intelligent, they may have doubts. If someone's very intelligent, then they don't. So, I think the people who doubt these things are not so intelligent, because if you hear why they doubt it, they're just not very intelligent reasons. Not only that, in standard epistemologies and philosophy, there are different, ways you can establish something for you as true. Like one is obviously empirical, Another is by logic or deduction. But another one, which even in Western philosophy is understood to be one of the ways, is hearing from authority. I mean, if you're on a plane and the captain comes on and says, we're going to hit some very bad weather, fasten your seatbelt, that's authoritative. And actually, everyone does fasten their seatbelt. So you could say, prove it to me, prove there's going to be bad weather, but no one says that. And so if you think about it, most of the things, probably 99% of all the things we accept as true, we take on authority. Like, for example, most people believe there actually is a war going on with Iran. Most people believe that it's so many miles, the circumference of the earth is so many miles. Has anyone actually walked it with one of those little, maybe like with an apple thing on your wrist or something?
Tape measure.
Yeah, I mean, who's actually measured it? Everyone. So most of the things, how many people have been to, I don't know, Turkmenistan? But you believe there is a country called Turkmenistan. You believe the capital is where they tell you the capital is. And so there's our whole picture of the universe, of the earth, is based on hearing from authority. Even understanding, as Prabhupada's famous example goes, how do you know who your mother is? Your father, you have to hear from your mother. Hopefully, if the mother does know who the father is, then she obviously was not very regulated, let us say. That actually happened in the Vedas. The famous story, the story of Satyakama, which means the truth lover. And that is, there was this lady who was, I guess, as the vulgar expression would go, sleeping around town. She probably did it professionally. And so her son was very Brahminically inclined. And so he said to her one day, what's my last name? Because he knew you'd have to fill out an application to get into a Gurukula. And it's just, if you fill out an application, first thing is last name. And so the way they say last name in Sanskrit was Gotra. Like, what's your family lineage? So when he asked his mother, what's our last name? She said, that's really a good question. And who's my father? He said, boy, there's a good question. I didn't know who his father was. So quite a Mataji. Anyway, so then he went off to this very famous guru who's only for the most Brahminical students. And he was asked, what's your gotra? What's your last name? And he said, well, that's a good question. I asked my mother that, and she said that, and this is actually what his mother said was, when I was younger, I kind of moved around a lot, and I'm not really sure who your father is. So when the guru asked him that, he just very honestly said exactly what his mother said. And the guru said that you are so honest that you're actually a Brahmin. So he accepted him to study the Vedas, which is very interesting because it shows how when the Vedic culture was functioning properly, it was not just by birth. He was coming from, to use the expression, the dregs of society. He kind of bottomed out in terms of birth. And yet he was accepted by a very high-class guru to become a Brahmana because he had the qualities. And the guru gave him the name Satyakama, truth lover.
Like the word demon, which we are using.
We are using that word.
Is it asura, or it's kind of generally anybody who is against Krishna? What would be correct?
Basically, anyone that doesn't join the heart. No, I'm just kidding. Anyone who leaves the Hare Krishna. It's the word demons is definitely a strong word. Krishna in chapter 16 gives a chapter to these people, gentlemen. And so technically, like an asura, real asura, which literally means sort of like ungodly. If they, if the shoe fits. So if you just look at read chapter 16, and then you'll find out what a demon is. And whoever acts like that is a demon. And whoever doesn't act like that is not. So, stop here. Yes. Oh, question. Oh, one second. Alone. As war affects innocent people now, what is the best way to practice Krishna consciousness during wartime and keep the sadhana? Same way we do when it's not wartime. I mean, it's not that because it's wartime, he's from Israel. It's not that because it's wartime, we're going to chant a different mantra or not chant, or we.
The sound disappeared. Can we interrupt?
This is like in school when the teacher goes out of the class and then we can all just chat amongst ourselves.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. You are muted and we cannot hear.
Nalini, how did we get muted?
So I couldn't hear your answer to the question.
Okay,
We couldn't answer, hear your question also because you were cut off.
how did that happen? We're muted.
In a moment, I will.
So it's not muted now?
No, now it's okay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So as far as your question, what was your question again? Oh, maybe it didn't have a question. Okay, he was just saying that, okay, now it's okay. So what I was just saying for those who were muted is that a devotee asked, you know, said in Kali Yuga, the demons and the devotees are inside the same person. And I said, not exactly. I mean, some people are like that, but most of the devotees I know were not demons. I mean, they weren't going around killing people or raping people or just, I mean, if you look at the description of demons in chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, I don't know any, or I know very, I don't know if I know any devotees who, before they became devotees, were doing the things described in chapter 16 of the Gita. So I think what we need to do is, rather than just kind of repeat the, and it's not really in the Shastra either. I don't think there's a statement in the Bhagavatam that says in this age, demons and devotees, you know, it's the same person is a devotee and a demon. And especially once you become a devotee, I mean, I don't really understand how people who actually become devotees are still half demons. You know, we may not be perfect, but I don't think we're demons.
Isn't it in the CC in that where
If you can find a verse.
I'll find it and bring it to you later.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it later. I don't know. I have to find on my phone and search. I don't know.
I mean, you know, we're not perfect, but as far as saying that we have demons inside of us or we have our inner demons or
It seems more like ungodly qualities might be a more accurate way to talk about it. The things that need to get purified, lust,
Yeah.
anger.
Well, yeah, I mean, but anyone who's not a pure devotee has some amount of lust, has some amount of anger. But I think just having, I mean, if we look at just Vaishnav communities, if we look at Vaishnav history, if we look at the Bhagavatam, I don't think that any imperfection meant that you're half demon. You know, maybe sometimes you lose your temper, or sometimes you may, you know, feel some attraction to another body or something. And I mean, that's why Krishna says that in the Gita, that whenever your mind goes away, your mind's out of control, bring your mind back under control. And in the Gita, Krishna talks all the time about how we have to control our senses, and the senses want to, you know, indriyanam hicharatam janmanuna videyate. The senses are sort of roaming all around, and then if one of the senses becomes fixed in some object, it can take away the mind. But it's not that every time Krishna describes people having trouble controlling their minds or senses, he says, and therefore they are demons. I mean, if you look at chapter 16 of the Gita, where Krishna is talking about like real card-carrying certified asuras, it's a whole different level.
Yeah, I still have questions in this area, but not for now. It's okay.
Yeah. So, but if you find something, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
So we'll stop here. Thank you all very much. Thank you out there. Sorry we went mute for a while.
Thank you, Acharya Dave.
Hare Krishna.
Sí, pues, ya de aquí, sí.